According to the dictionary, astrology is the study of movements and relative positions of celestial bodies interpreted as having an influence on human affairs as well as the natural world. I say it's planets in motion, doing their thing, affecting our lives. We can use astrology as a tool to see what energy is not only present for us as individuals, but also for the collective, allowing us to better prepare for what's to come. I've personally used astrology to help me get through some pretty tough times. I find that when you know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, you're more likely to keep walking. Join me for this astrological forecast. This is the highway to healing. Kate, I'm so excited to talk to you. I love astrology. You are a go-to person for all things having to do with planets and transits and what's coming for us. You also do feng shui consultations, which I just am fascinated by. But today we're going to focus on February's astrology. And I am just saying a prayer right now that you're going to give us a little bit of good news, but I have a feeling based on everything that I've seen that 2021 is going to be like that roller coaster of sorts. But I'm going to hand it over to you, the expert on astrology, and please let myself and the listeners know, what are we in for February?
Oh my gosh. Well, first, thank you just for what a beautiful introduction you've had there. I'm so happy to be here. So yeah, let's talk about February. So we're a few days in ready, but so we have to start with Mercury retrograde. And I understand, right? This happens several times a year, so it is a little played out. But I want to reframe it because everyone kind of puts their hands up. Oh no, Mercury retrograde, right? Because we just start thinking about miscommunication. Oh no, my technology is going to go awry. I'm going to have transportation issues. Like my car is not going to start. So with that said, yes, please back everything up. Double check your appointments, save yourself some time, right? Maybe call the doctor's office before you're going in or resend that text for an appointment that you have with a friend. But I want you to channel this energy and use it to your advantage. So consider anything that begins with re. So RE. So allow this time to be where you rethink a plan. Maybe you relaunch a plan. Maybe you reorganize. Use this time for deliberation, if you will. Kind of give it this space for you to go into your thoughts and think, what is not working for me? And then realign yourself. And that's a beautiful way to look at Mercury retrograde versus oh, my computer crashed, my phone's not working. And of course, yes, do those things happen? They do. Use this energy to your advantage. Okay, so the energy started January 30th and it's going to run all the way through February 21st. So if you are thinking of doing something pretty big, launching something big, I would wait until after those dates if you can. From there,
I'm like, oh God. I mean, I just gotta interject for a second.
Yes.
So
yes.
Mercury retrograde, I mean, I feel it every time it hits. And I mean, I even know people right now around me that are having problems with technology and things, and we are in it.
Yes.
This is coming out February 4th. We're in it right now. But there's the shadow period, before and after. So I love what you said, in my experience, like don't sign any contracts that are major during this time. And if you have to, make sure you have extra sets of eyes on them.
Yes.
And my opinion, I would say wait till March 1st to try anything. But that's just me. I like extending it out a little bit farther. But sorry, Mercury retrograde is like a little bit of a thorn. But I love what you said about read this, read that. And it's your opportunity to realign with what you really want from this year. So that's perfect. I just want to throw that in there. So
no, and you know what? Those are all great talking points. You're right. Prior to January 30th, you probably were already feeling it because we talk about, kind of a 2-week period on either side of it. So great point. And you can also find out if you know your astrology chart, you can see where does Aquarius fall in my chart. And that can give you some better insight as to how you will feel it this time around. Because every time Mercury retrogrades, it's in a different area of the chart. So that can help you get a little bit more specific about what it is affecting in your life.
Okay, so question.
Yes.
Does that mean that if you are maybe an Aquarius sun sign, moon sign, rising sign, do you think you'll feel or have more interruptions with Mercury retrograde?
Yes. So typically the sign that it's in, the sign that it's opposing, and the signs that square it. So all of our fixed signs, Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, Taurus, most likely will be more affected or feel it harder than the other ones. But if you have a lot of strong placement of planets in that sign, unfortunately, you qualify as well for feeling it a little bit more.
Okay, great.
But again, seeing where it falls in your chart can give you some insight, because if it's in your 7th house, you might be rethinking partnerships, rethinking friendships. Is this, who I want to commit with personally and professionally? If it's sitting, in your 4th house of home, you might be thinking, oh, I need to reorganize, right? My desk has been kind of bothering me, or I have to squeeze by this area to get through. This would be a great time to reorganize home. So a lot of positive ways to spin it, but I know that technology piece is difficult. Absolutely. So from there, I want to just talk a little bit about the Chinese New Year or the Lunar New Year, because we see that on February 12th. And I think going back to 2020, which I know a lot of us, we don't like to do, but and looking for some clues, right? In 2020, we were in the year of the rat. And what happened, right? Well, we associate rats with disease. We associate rats with quick moving, right? When we have rats in our home, which I hope you don't have to experience that, right? But they're quick moving, they're hard to find. And we were dealing with a disease, right? We were dealing with COVID. And we were dealing with this idea that we didn't know how it was showing up, right? We didn't know where it was coming from. Do you have it? I don't know. Do you have it? Okay. And I would also point out even just the idea of scavenging, right, for food. Think about like those in the beginning of 2020, right? How rats go looking for food. And we were like in the grocery stores, like, do you have yeast? Do you have toilet paper? Right? We were kind of running around looking for things. So now we're moving into the year of the ox. Totally different. One, just in the size between a rat and an ox. But oxes, I think of hard work, right? They're laborers. So I would think this year we would see a lot of steady progress. But what we're going to come up against is the determined versus the stubborn. And we're going to see that play out with the next aspect that I'm going to be talking about. But I think if we're going to use the Lunar New Year and the ox to give any sort of prediction, I would think we'd be dealing with some weighty issues. And because oxes are that hard work and that steady progress, even the idea of just seeing the Chinese New Year being played down, not as celebrations, right? Gatherings, which obviously with COVID in the background, we can see that, but just another way that might play throughout the whole year. Yes.
Okay, so question.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be scavenger rats this year.
No.
But when I think about the energy of the ox, to me, what comes forward is almost like this divisive energy where it's, I've got this opinion, you've got this opinion, and people are kind of like bulls in a china shop. Does that align with your interpretation of this year?
Yes. And I think that's a great way to, thank you for clarifying that. That's where I'm getting like that stubborn energy versus the determined. Because I'm determined for change. I'm determined that we can't go on further. And then there's the other side where we're stuck in our ways. And I do think that will be a reoccurring clashing energy with obviously the ox symbolism. And then what the next point is this Uranus and Saturn meetup that we're going to see 3 times this year. I know, but
it just sounds big.
It does. Well, wait till I get to my last point.
Wonderful. Go for it.
Okay. So, February 17th, so just about 5 days after the Lunar New Year, we're going to see Saturn, the planet of structure, rules, long-standing thoughts, buildings, even talk about Saturn being the father figure, is going to be up against Uranus, or Uranus, however you want to say it, right? Which is out of the box thinking. So this is unexpected. This is a little bit erratic behavior, maybe even shocking. So when the two come together, I say, this creates some thunderstorms, right? So we might see firm structures and routine that we've become comfortable with start to change. And to give you just an example, right? The last time we experienced this, 2008, we only experienced it once because there wasn't a retrograde like we'll see this year. That's why there'll be 3 hits this year. The first one on February 17th. The last time we saw this, it was in opposition in 2008. It happened on the exact day that Obama was elected. So when you go back to my idea of Saturn is long-standing thoughts, we had a long-standing thought that presidents were white men, right? And then Uranus is this shocking behavior, this unexpected, this out of the box, something that wasn't traditional, right? And then we saw a Black man take this position. So that's an example of how we saw it live out last time. So I would think like laws that we've seen that have stood forever, expectations that we just assume because we've seen it forever. So we could apply it to government, we could apply it to our money, we could apply it to even just simple things in our lives, depending on where it's sitting in your chart, kind of come unglued and not being as structured or as expected as usual.
Oh, that sounds like fun, Kate.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's listening right now and saying, oh, that sounds great, because so many people get stuck in this control mindset. They like to know what's going to happen. They like to know how things are going to play out. And every time I look at 2021, it's my year of the plot twist.
Yep.
And I just feel like you got to go with the flow this year, because you said it, February 17th is one hit, but then folks, we've got more of this year. So this is the year to say, all right, I'm just going to take a big deep breath. I'm going to just go with the surrender and the flow as much as I possibly can. And I can choose to see things differently, to open my horizons, to, have new perspective, and to try and see life maybe a little bit differently. And frankly, what I see with a lot of people is they've been walking around with a blindfold on for so long. And that's not even a political statement. It's just their life, whether it's in their relationship or their job, and they've just kind of been superficial in a lot of ways. I think 2021 is the year that says, all right, you didn't take the blindfold off. We're going to take it off for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, all great points. And the other thing about that is because this is happening like on a worldly level, like unfortunately, that's where the politics side comes in, because it gives us just great examples because we see it play out so big. And when it's happening for the whole world, the US affects a lot of other countries. And that's why we usually have to take the brunt of the change or the energy, because what we're doing is affecting everyone else. So again, that is an example on a large scale, but we can absolutely apply it to everyone in our own individual life, because it's us as a collective that changes, right? Then we see reflected in rules, government laws, regulations.
Okay, so for the hit on February 17th, what is your rule of thumb in regards to a shadow period before and after that? Is there one that you keep in mind for those listening and they're like, oh God, that's right around the corner? With February 4th as this release date, for this podcast episode, are we already in it, or is it closer to the 17th?
Yeah, we're already in it. Once one of the planets is going direct, I feel like, and I think you've maybe heard me use this analogy before, but it's like me saying, hey, I'm getting in my car and coming over. I'm not there yet, but you're anticipating that energy. It's almost like you can feel like, oh, yep, I'm fluffing the pillows. I'm getting the drinks ready. Like I'm anticipating you. So are we in the orb? Absolutely. Okay. And do I expect something crazy to happen on the 17th? Not necessarily, but it could be a great day for a law to be passed. It could be a great day for something to come out that kind of shakes us up. Oh my gosh, could that happen?
Okay.
Right. So do I think anything horrible is going to happen on that day? Absolutely not. But I do think we're going to see more, do I want to say shocking headlines, right? But things that were like, I didn't think that was possible.
I hope the aliens show up, Kate. I hope the UFO just shows up this year.
I would love that. I would love that. With Saturn and Aquarius, I wouldn't put that past at all. So from there, the last one I want to talk about when we're talking about the February forecast is we've been already anticipating the Pluto return of the United States. And because us as humans don't live to be old enough to go through a Pluto return, you might hear about a Saturn return for humans, right? We experienced that at 29 and a half. Well, Pluto is finally within 1 degree of where natal Pluto sits in the US chart. So at the very end of the month, February 28th, Pluto will move to 26 degrees of Capricorn, making it, again, 1 degree away. So the official Pluto return is in February of 2022. So I understand that this seems like a little far out way to talk about it, but it's within 1 degree. And we're thinking of a wheel of 360 degrees, 1 degree away. We're kidding ourselves if we think we're not feeling this already, right? And we're already seeing it. So Pluto rules the things that lie beneath. It rules what we were built on. And so the idea of us redetermining, is what we learned true? Are we going to move forward cohesively, right? Or is this going to result in some sort of breakdown of the structures that we've seen? So I would think that we're trying to eliminate any unstable or corrupt foundations, and that we should be seeing people of color rise. We should be seeing us rewriting our history books maybe becoming more truthful to how we were actually founded, and seeing more equality between all people.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's hard work. Pluto is hard work because we have to have those uncomfortable conversations. We have to face the ugly, the messy. If a person was going through this, which again, we don't live old enough to do it, right? But I would say, oh my gosh, you're super compatible right now with like construction, with messy projects. So, we're going through that as a collective. We're having those hard topics, right? We're putting it out all on the table. Because Pluto rules what's underneath, it's like when it comes back, we can't ignore anymore. We can't just keep putting those thoughts, those feelings down. It's like, okay, here it is. Let me put it all out on the table.
So then my question would be, we're 1 degree away at the end of this month.
Yeah.
And then we hit it next year.
Yes.
And then if my calculations are correct, which I'm not an astrologer, but that we would move away 1 degree in 2023, which is still basically on top of it. So we're going to have this energy then for a few years. Is that a correct way of reading it?
Absolutely. That's a great, but I didn't pull the ephemeris to see how quickly Pluto is going to move. The reason that we're seeing at 26 is what's happening is it's going to hit 26 degrees and it's going to retrograde at 26 degrees. So that's why I'm kind of making a big deal, because it's not just hitting this 1 degree to go on to the next. It's like stationary right here at this 26, and then it will go back. I think it hits 25, and then it's going to come back through 25, 26, 27. So, yeah, but you are right. It will be close enough that it's not just going to be that February 2022 date and then, oh, we're done, right? We will feel the lingering effects of it leaving.
Yes. I'm like trying to find the words I want to use because it feels so incredibly intense to me. And as I look at the energy, I mean, the next 4 years feel monumental, but I also feel that we all signed up to be alive right here, right now, to witness all of this happening. So I agree with you. It feels like heavy work, tough conversations, but what comes out on the other end of it feels remarkable and life-changing and enlightening. So I want, to be very truthful with people with the energy that we see. And it's not to cause fear, but instead it's to say, hey, we're going to give you what we know. And it's to better prepare you so that you can just take your blindfold off and look at what's happening around you and ask yourself, how am I going to contribute to the betterment and the greater good of my life, the people around me, and the community? Because I think during this period, there'll be a lot of opportunities for people to champion things that will move our world forward. And so I do think there'll be things that come out like that.
All great talking points. And again, these specific dates that I've given, it's not like, oh, something bad happened just on that date. It's all being worked up to these points. So we're already in it. We're living it. If you made it through 2020, like that was just preparing us for 2021. 2021 is preparing us for 2022. So again, these shouldn't be things that shock us. Like we're not in 1995 hearing this stuff, like we just lived through 2020. We're living through a pandemic. We're living through lockdowns, right? We've seen things already kind of crumble, structures around us. We've started working from home. We've started wearing masks. Like, we've done things already that have taken us out of our comfort zone. And whether you agree with those things or not, right? As a collective, we are being already put in positions where we feel like this is different. This is unusual, right? This isn't how things have been in the past. And to be honest, like, I'm like, how do I want to position this self? COVID, right? Again, regardless of what your political views are or what your views are on that, what else could have happened to us as a world that would have made some of the changes that we made in our lives? So if we talked about the good side of everything that came out of 2020, a lot of my friends said, wow, I saved more money. I spent more time like with my children, like all these good things. Like, what else could have happened that would have changed our thought process so quickly? So I hope that's taken for what it is.
Right. And it's ripping that Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
And just go with the flow this year. Enjoy the plot twists. We will have Kate back in the following weeks to do March and do April. And this was your first introduction to Kate. And so, Kate, I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your February thoughts with my audience. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of comments that come in about what they think and if they agree and if they're feeling it. Because a lot of people are already feeling some of the things that are coming, and I'm guessing it has to do with that February 17th date. So
yes.
We'll be hearing more and more from people. And I just appreciate you sharing your thoughts. And we're looking forward to connecting with you for a future episode.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
For more information on Kate's work, visit thekatewind.com. For exclusive content, please join my Spark Plug members only community and apply to be a guest on this show. Find out more at spiritandspark.com.